Welcome back to the Tavern, friends. Before you recruit some new minions for the battle, let me welcome you to episode 28 of Tavern Tales, a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. I am your host, Simply Drunk, and tonight we'll be discussing upcoming playtesting changes. Twitch rivals put on their first Battlegrounds event the week of the Battlegrounds party launch, and of course, we are on this endeavor to look to put a stop to a certain celestial dragon because Ed, he cannot keep getting away with this.
No, he
Jeez.
cannot.
But anyways, before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, I just want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course, to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me in the tavern tonight, as always, is my co-host Edinar and Ed. We basically coming off of a week where we had two Battlegrounds events with the launch of the parties. Last week we talked about some of the drama that was kind of ensuing, more so like on the higher end of things. But basically, like the past week, there's been a lot of experimentation going on and a lot of adjustments that we are either trying to sort out or have sorted out currently, hopefully.
hmm Yeah, no, it's been crazy. I mean, like, the whole world is wrong about the number one hero in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Because if a week and a half ago you had Jandis Barov as the hands down, not even close, best hero in Hearthstone, you're a god. Like, you're just a god at this point. Like, yeah. So a lot of things have really kind of changed around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fun. I'm still like, and I'm with you. I uh, I haven't had the best of luck. I'm still trying to understand this meta, even the post Murloc meta,
Mm-hmm.
and it's frustrating. But like, I think we are both kind of hella wrong about the heroes.
I think you could say that about 95% of the content creators.
Right? Like, people are like, with Omu,
Mm-hmm.
who thought that Omu would be the fourth best hero in the game. No one. Like, I may not have been right thinking that he'd be bad, but nobody had him like above Rafam and Kael'thas. It's like, what? So it's just interesting. It's been an interesting week.
Yeah, right now you're kind of at where I was going into our last recording, because I did have like that really terrible like 8 run set that I did where I dropped like 400 MMR at that point. Since
Mm-hmm.
then, the pendulum has started to swing the other way. So I was actually ahead this week, going into tonight's recording. But like even when I was at that low point, I was still kind of staying afloat, above that 7K MMR point. And this week I got like a handful of games in. I think, not counting like the EU games, I played 8 on the main account over on NA. Within that, I had a run of 6, 1, 3, 4, 4, 1, 5, and 5. So that would put my average placement this past week at 3.63. Uh, Pretty good improvement over last week, considering that number was like 6.25, based on that pretty bad one. But anyways, my lobby wins this past week were with Maiev Shadowson, really no surprise there. And I did get a Jandis Barov win with my second time playing Jandis. Uh, this
Uh,
time, this
I
time
haven't gotten
I.
Jandis.
Okay. I will say my Jandis game went very well. I was able to hyper level after I secured a Pogo after going to, tier 2. The turn after that, I actually got another Pogo. So at that point, I just kept swapping. I kept leveling as fast as I could. So I bum rushed up to tier 5 in hopes of finding a Bran, which I eventually did. Granted, it took a few turns. But what was interesting about that game in particular, Ed, was it's not that I didn't have to work for it despite having Janus, because I did start to see a lot of players moving towards poison builds. So, regardless of how much I was getting stat wise on my two Pogos, which ended at lines of 181, 171, and 217 to 11 between the two, I had to adapt to what they were adapting to counter me. So I was having to counter their way of countering, which did take a little bit of work on my part. So I had to adapt to the poison swaps by my opponents. And to do that, I eventually secured two Maxinas, as well as an Amalgam, which did end up getting Divine Shield and Poison. And only one of my Pogos had Divine Shield, so I didn't find that second Magnetic in that case. And, towards the end there, I was really hoping to secure, like, an Unstable Ghoul, because I was seeing a ton of Divine Shield from the person that was in second place there. That never happened, so I was like, alright, well, what else is on the board that could potentially snipe something? And I saw, like, a Whelp pop up, and I was like, I think my stats are pretty good. If this ends up hitting a Divine Shield, like, the value is going to be there anyways.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't actually need the Whelp. Go figure. I had enough Divine Shields on the board to help counteract their shield. So in the end, it did work out. But, it just comes to show, if you are just securing Jandice because you see, hey, she's on the top of HS replay, and you do want to run Pogos or attempt to run Pogos, don't make the mistake that I did on our prior episode and try to just outright force it and spend all of your rolls trying to get the mech. Make sure you're buying minions as opposed to just rolling, because if you just try to force something like that, chances are you're going to be looking at a top 8. Right? Like, don't don't
Probably.
don't do that, guys, trust me. But in the long run, you can make like single hopper or double, pogo work in the long run. But just keep in mind, no matter how many stats you have on board, you can always be countered by, poison
A
adaptations
1-2
here.
poison.
Yeah.
Your 80-80 pogo can just get effed over by a 1-2 poison.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Pogo's are like, and I think the thing is the reason that Pogo is so strong with this is you can build it up so much in the middle game
Right.
that you knock people out
Mm-hmm.
by the time you get to the end game, where they don't have enough time to force a board that could truly counter you. Because with enough time, you could probably easily counter a Pogo board. But if you don't give them the time to do it, then that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I want to say in that lobby win, like, I won the first round, and then I had like 3 consecutive ties before I started to really get going, and then in the mid game, I won like 6 or 7 rounds in a row once I started to build those stats on the pogos. So even like on the turns where I was leveling up ahead of the curve, I was still winning those rounds pretty, like, very distinctively in this case. So it was pretty one-sided, even if I was at, say, a minion disadvantage in this case. Feels good, man.
I'm looking right now. Where the hell is Bran?
Well, you gotta look for Dino Tamer.
Yeah. I'm just looking through right now
He
because
is
with the
tier 3 above
he is
Curator,
tier 3.
and below
Okay,
him
there
is
he is.
Hera.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm like, with Pogos being the new hotness, I was like, maybe he jumped up. He has jumped up in picking
Mm-hmm.
from probably from the same thinking that I just had. Like, well, I'll go Pogo with Bran. It just isn't as effective.
Right.
But yeah, it's a weird world we live in.
Yeah, a whole lot of greed going on right now in Battlegrounds, and if you don't greed with them, you're gonna be left in their dust.
Mm-hmm.
As my week last week would show you. But anyways, And I know like there was that whole discussion on the Bob's Tavern Reddit, and it was kind of like talking about group queues and the competitive integrity and what it does to the game. And that was the one that had like that initial Ixar comment in regards to like the MMR resets coming in future patches. There was another update in that thread from Ixar about playtesting and things that they're kind of like looking at doing in regards to tune in Battlegrounds right now. So Ixar said that we are planning to playtest soon with hero level plus 1 damage per card, with some hero health adjustments to see how it feels. Unrelated, we have also been playtesting with a variable health system that boosts lower powered heroes by a small range of health. You might have to choose between a 47 health Galacrond or a 40 health Ravam, and maybe that is interesting. But he noted that it's gotten mixed feedback so far.
Okay, so the first part, I don't know how I feel about all this. I mean, the plus 1 damage per card with some hero health adjustments to see how it feels. That whole thing, I get.
Yeah, well, that would
Um,
that would cap the damage you can do in any one round.
yeah, which I think would answer a lot of questions. Now, what it would also do is something that they probably don't want to happen is make the games 30 to 40 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Like at a certain point, you don't want games to go on forever. And the nice thing with Battlegrounds is you can hop on and do a whole match in 20 minutes. If you up that to 30, 35 minutes, then you're going to get people who just aren't all for it and leave the game. But I think there's a fine line in there that they could try and mess with. The different stats, I hate that. I truly hate that because all right, how do you determine who gets the boost? Like,
It's only
are you?
Galacrond.
Oh, even that. I'd still take Patchwork at 50 over a 47 health Galacrond. But you know what I mean? Like, who's determining what is like? Are you taking all the heroes that you're taking, plus taking into account what cards are available? Like, I think it's just too complicated of a system that it's going to be skewed from time to time, more often than not, where it's just screwed up.
Well, yeah, that's because at that point you're introducing yet another variable on top of everything. And then it kind of
Yeah.
puts you in this position where, as someone who is looking to update like balance changes within the game, then all of a sudden you have to think of, well, like, is that value the issue? Is it the hero power? Is it like the current, uh, you know, minions within the game? Is a certain tribe doing better than what they should be at a current time? And it just kind of like magnifies a problem tenfold. Now, that being said, like, sure, if Galacrond had a little bit more health, would he do better? Probably, but then again, and let's remember, this is a hero that they tried to buff, and they did, and his average placement is worse.
So I mean, here's the thing: you're gonna have shit heroes. You need to have shit heroes in this game. Not everyone can be equal, and I don't want everyone to be equal. Every game has those bad heroes or bad characters or whatever that you need to have in the game to make it interesting. And you know what? I don't like this. And now that I think about it, the playtests with the hero level, the damage you take as the hero level plus 1 damage per card, I I don't like it.
Yeah,
Like,
on one hand, you can see both sides here. Like, let's say you have a 6-star minion on your board that survives. So instead of doing 6 plus your level, you'd basically be doing 1 plus your level. So it feels terrible in that direction. But when you're talking about death rattles,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it can definitely go the other way in that regard as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I mean, if you think about it, you're basically saying in the perspective of damage to the other hero, let's see, a Malagos is the same as a Wrath Weaver. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could buy a Wrath Weaver and have a 1/1 in there and survives and does the same amount of damage as a Malagos. It just doesn't feel as beneficial.
Right.
And honestly, I think it could sway a lot of the game because what would like it would make Pogo Hopper builds 10 times better because you're not incentivized as much to level up because you're not going to do more damage really.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't like I like what they're trying to do. Like I like how they're trying to think outside the box, stuff like that. I don't know if these are the ways to go about it.
Yeah, the big thing here is they don't want it to feel unfair to players. Like more so in like the mid game where all of a sudden you see these power swings where you're taking anywhere from like 15 to like 30 damage in a single turn. Because there's definitely been games here recently where I have been leading the lobby, then all of a sudden I take 30 damage in a single turn, and then I'm just like, wait, what? What just happened? Like,
Now,
it's
oh
smooth
yeah.
sailing.
So here's something that could happen is what if they just reduce the amount of each specific card for each tier? So you're running into less goldens, thus not getting the tier above where they should be at getting a card.
Okay.
So like in turn by reducing the amount of gold cards in the game, you're reducing the amount of extra damage that is getting done because they may have lucked into like perfect example from this week is I was playing Pyramid and I had the microbot and I got a triple on turn 5. Like I got a triple turn 5 of that. And then the next turn I got or turn 6 I got triple the battle cry give a mech +2/+2.
Okay.
So
So the metal
it's
tooth finger.
it's turn 6 and I only have 2 cards on 3 cards. 2 real cards on the board and they're both golden.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shouldn't be happening and I was dominating. Like I did phenomenal in that because I had turn 6 I had a 25-40 bot. I was just like what the hell is going on here? And it's stuff like that. I think the gold cards are creating this power creep that we're not used to. And I think we need to reduce the amount of gold cards, thus giving us more powerful cards early on.
Gotcha.
So that's how I see it.
Well, what to wait and see exactly what they're doing here. Obviously, if they're play testing it, it will probably still be a while before we do start to see any sort of adjustment. Since
Mm.
there is no PTR to like test things out in regards to Hearthstone. Now, outside of that, we did also have that event which we had mentioned on our prior week's episode because that was kind of happening as we were recording the show. And that was the Doritos Disruptor series, which was one of the Twitch rival events, which was put on by Crip. Now, I'll be honest, Ed, like, I was certain, like, hey, like, maybe it'll be on YouTube. All right, check in Twitch rivals. Nope, wasn't there. Checked Crip's channel. Wasn't there. So I was like, what the hell, man? Slissa did it right. She had the VOD on her YouTube. It was easy to find. Not so much with Crip's events. I did find the VOD on his Twitch, but I had to do a little bit of digging in order to find it. But just as a recap, how the event was structured, this was a team event consisting of 4 different teams, all named after different Twitch emotes. You had Team PogChamp, which consisted of Firebat, 12 Wins, Dog Dog, and Nicolina. You had Team Kappa, which was captained by Slissa, her teammates being Brian Kibler, Educated Collins, and Dreads. You had Team Baby Rage, captained by RDU. His teammates were Super JJ, Silvermane, and Shan Udachi. And then you had Team Smork, who had Show, Ciso, Surrender, and a 109 Ace. So, going into this, they definitely ran things a bit differently with the team format because you essentially split people into pairs for each team. So, each team had 2 pairs. You had one player who was active, and then you had their partner who was a spectator. So there was a way to communicate with the active player in this case. And it was one of the longer events. Typically we were seeing 5-round events. This one kind of bumped it up a little bit. So they were at 8 rounds altogether. So point distribution worked as such. If you got first place in the lobby, you were rewarded 5 points. Second place netted you 4 points. At 3 to 4, you got 2 points, and 5th and 6th place both accrued 1 point. Now, what made this interesting is towards the later rounds, the final 2 rounds, you had a multiplier. So Game 7 offered double points to the top 6. Game 8 was triple points to the top 6. And that definitely was interesting in the long run when you factor in the top 2 teams. But on the line here, you had $10,000 in a prize pool. You had Doritos for days, which was basically like a 6-month supply of Doritos, a Doritos trophy, a lot of good stuff here. And I know last weekend you and I were kind of talking about just kind of like how things were set up in regards to the broadcast and how it differed a little bit compared to some of the other events that we saw going on. But I want to get your thoughts on the format that they were using because it was very unique and something that strayed from the norm as opposed to the other team base events, because the other team events were basically you had both, like, you still had the teams, but you had 2 players per team per lobby, and then they were running separate lobbies in that case.
Yeah, it was weird. I like it. I think we're still in the infancy stages of what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of had to go this route with maximizing the amount of players, but at the same time only containing it to one lobby because of, like, they were limited by the spectator client or spectator client that we have it in the game right now. And the thing is I'm not knocking it. It's just something they probably need to work on. But they were the pioneers of this. Like, I know Slissa did it, but like Slissa did it very not basic, but like she didn't have the production that Crip did.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she was spectating people's games on her friends list like you have been able to do. Whereas in this one, they were spectating like their streams, it almost seemed.
It was.
Yeah. So like I think it was great to get that. I just wish there would have been a way to have 2 lobbies and float between the 2. That way you could have individual players, because the thing is you don't know if one person carried the team or not. Like, if you don't know if Educated Collins and Dreads who carried the team. Now, and this is not a knock on Dreads, but Educated Collins is arguably the best Battlegrounds player out there right now. I believe he has like 3 accounts in the top 50 in the league. So it's like, yeah. Um, but like, how would educated Collins have done on his own
Mhm.
against everyone else, and how would Dreads have done on his own compared to everyone else? You just don't know. So there are some kinks that need to be worked out. I'm glad it came as close as it did, because like halfway through, Team Smork was running away with it. Like, I'm talking Roadrunner getting away from Wile E. Coyote type of tomfoolery.
Right.
They like I'm gonna say it.
It
This team,
yeah.
Exo and Show, were like so dominant the first half. The other problem with this is, holy happy horseshit Batman, it was long.
Oh yeah, big time.
And I think that's a problem across esports as a whole. This is not just Hearthstone Battlegrounds. This is esports as a whole. Their matches are too long. They try and fit too much stuff into one day. Like Overwatch League, same exact thing. You're just like, hey, tune in for the next 12 hours to watch 4 matches. Like, what? And like Crypt, I get that Crypt was teamed up with Doritos and it was Twitch rivals, so they had to have, sponsorship breaks because it was actually sponsored. But it's they need to rein it back a little. Maybe go fewer rounds. So yeah, there are kinks to work out, but I like the setup of this.
Yeah, what I liked about this one was you had more interregional like competition, because there was content from across the globe here, which did kind of like have an impact in regards to setting up, say, player interviews after each game, because that was something that they were doing. Now, in regards to the whole duo aspect, where you had the communicator, as like the spectator, with the active player, you didn't really get a sense of how that was working if you were just watching the primary stream, because you weren't able to actively hear any communication that was going on at the time. Now that being said, whenever they did have like a focal point on an individual stream, that's when you started to pick up on the other audio on top of the normal like play-by-play that was being done by Savitz and Crip. But you didn't really get to see like the whole magnitude of that, and not really having a way to kind of like flip through like the streams, or not, at least from what I saw with like Twitch rivals, was kind of a letdown. Like, I would have liked to just be able to like, okay, like let me go to X person's stream, I could tune in, see how they're communicating, how they're setting up their plays, and seeing how things work in that regard. But I feel like, knowing what we have right now, we are still quite a bit of ways before we even see anything close to that.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of integration with like Twitch
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that, which I don't know if they want to do, because I don't think because once you start teaming up with Twitch on that, you limit yourself to just Twitch.
Correct.
Now, if there is a quick, like, still allow them to do this, but I think there needs to be a way for them to, like, one thing they did very well was switch between rounds to different streams.
Mm-hmm.
I think that needs to be made easier from the people's standpoints who's running it. Like, you should be able to click on anyone's game.
Right.
And I also think that once you're out of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I tuned into a couple of streams, but once you're knocked out, are you able to go back in, even if you're not friends with them?
No.
Okay, so like, you should be able to spectate anyone in that lobby.
Yeah, right now it's all
If you're
based on
knocked
friends.
out. Yeah, and because I mean, let's be real, in an actual tournament, you're not going to have everyone added to your friends list.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're streaming, you're sometimes just sitting there. Like, if you get knocked out 8th, 8th, you're just sitting on stream for 15 minutes with nothing to do.
Right.
I think you should be able to click on anyone in that lobby and spectate their game.
Yeah, well, it's more of a party, more opposed to like a lobby, since like there aren't actual like lobby sites what you would see in like other custom games. But yeah, just like being able to like click on a portrait to swap a point of view to whatever hero, would definitely pay huge dividends in the long run for event planning in the future. But we'll have to see, like, because if we're seeing more events, obviously like that would kind of like signal boost to the dev team, like, hey, like we need observer tools. We can continue to put on awesome content like this, and the community can just at large just have fun with it. Right now, we're kind of like left to our own devices in this case. But looking back at the event, and let's go over the results. So I'll go over the duos here. Then you can take the final team stand-ins between the 4 teams. So leading away, top duo-wise, in the top 5, we have in first, Sixo and Show at 34 points, followed by, in second, Educated Collins and Dreads, who put in 29 points. In third, you had Dog and Nicolina, who got 24 points. In fourth, you had Slissa and BM Kibler at 21 points, and then rounding out the top 5 duos, you had 12 wins and Firebat at 19 points.
Yeah, I mean, the XO was the dominant one. I expected Educated Collins and Dreads to really kind of be up there. I'm disappointed Slissa and Kibler. Like, that's like the ultimate fan favorite group. Is Slissa and Kibler, because like Kibler is one of the top 5 Hearthstone streamers in on Twitch. And Slissa is like the darling of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Like, nobody knew who the hell she was, really. And then they had the first Battlegrounds tournament. I forgot whose tournament that was. It was the official Blizzard one, and she was the last-minute replacement.
Yeah, that was the Pirate Mayhem one.
Yeah, the Pirate Mayhem one, and she freaking dominated. And now I watch her daily because she's my favorite Battlegrounds Twitch streamer out there. I don't know much about 12 wins but Firebat I know because he was the first ever Hearthstone world champion. That's really about it. But and then you get to the final standing, so you got Team Smork, who wins it all barely. They had the 51 points, and Team Kappa, which was the Slissa, Kibler, Educated Collins, Dreads team, came in second, 1 point behind, and like it's remarkable how quickly they came back.
Well,
because it was so one-sided.
They were both lights out in the final 2 rounds that had the multipliers active, and really the difference there was the fact that both of them posted the same amount of points in the multiplier rounds, and either one was able to get the upper hand in that regard, and that ended up being a pretty big difference in the long run.
Yeah. And then far behind you had Team PogChamp, and then real far behind, and I'm talking real far behind, Team Baby Rage. So to say how far behind, you could double Team Baby Rage's points of 21, and they would still have been in last place. Like, it's real bad. You basically, did either anyone on that team place top 4? I mean, I know they did, but like, because otherwise they would have had 0 points. But come on.
Well,
21 points.
Technically, you would be saying top 6 because 6 was the cutoff point for points.
Oh, top 6. Sorry. But 21 points is real bad. Real bad.
Rounds.
In 8 rounds, they got 21 points. Oh, so yeah, no, don't ever put those 4 people together again, because that's awkward.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, right now the big thing with Battlegrounds parties is the option for more events to be put on here in the near future. We lucked out getting two in 1 week, so we'll kind of have to keep an eye on, word of mouth things like that over on social media or the competitive Hearthstone Reddit. Honestly, like I don't even think Battlegrounds is that big on competitive Hearthstone, so more than likely hear about it on Bob's Tavern Reddit more than anything. But you better believe that we are going to have plans put in place to put on our own events. Now, we do want to do like partner casts with Bob's Tavern Cast, our rival
Mm-hmm.
slash frenemies, however you want to
No,
label
no
them.
rival. If we're going to be having these tournaments, pure rivals.
All right. Well,
Because
anyways,
once we start having these, the trash talking Ednar comes out.
absolutely. But anyway, so we're in the early planning stages. I know Jay just started a new job, so we're kind of like waiting for his schedule to situate before we like fully map out the time, the date, the format, all of that good stuff. But we'll be putting on tournaments alongside Bob's Tavern Cast. Now, as for ourselves, we are planning on doing community events, whether it is community game nights or tournaments, and we got a little bit of news on that front. Now, our plan for the community game nights is to run things kind of either on a bi weekly basis, maybe once a month, maybe twice, depending on, overall turnout. But we want to have community game nights on Sunday nights. So we are planning on doing one. And, initially I was going to say this month, but I want to make sure we have enough time to get the word out. So our first community game night is going to be on Sunday, October 4th, and it will start at our typical podcast time of 5 p.m. Pacific time. So all that will be run through our Discord. We'll get the word out. If we don't have enough, we could just group stack and play some games that way. But, we'd love to get a lobby going, get players in, and, we're always looking to help each other improve in Battlegrounds, and, trash talking is always incentive as well on that front, so we hope to see you guys out for that. And we do have a dedicated Discord set up for the podcast now, that will kind of be our hub for the game nights, the tournaments, all of that good stuff. So we do have a bit.ly link at bit.ly/Tavern Discord. But we'll remind you about that towards the end of the show. Now, further down the line, we do have confirmation that basically Con Before the Storm is kind of going virtual this year, which is one of the BlizzCon community events. And there's been some ideas thrown around already in regards to the Hearthstone side, so pretty good chance we might have a little bit of a podcast showdown Battlegrounds. But that would be, later in the year, talking late November, early December. But, I would just love in general to do like podcast head-to-head matches or, group queues, working as a team in a sec, anything like that with other content creators out there. And I know a lot of us are kind of in a similar MMR bracket as well. So I think that's definitely going to bring a little bit extra spice as well.
Oh, 100%. And you know what's going to bring the most spice? I'll give you one guess.
What's that?
My trash talk. My trash talk brings all the spice to the yard. And they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right. It's better than yours.
I was wondering if you were going to repeat it, and you did, so.
Yep. No, I 100% planned on it.
All right.
I'm just looking to beating everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Whether it's within the lobby or with words.
Yeah, no, I'm already gonna win the words. It's the lobby that really will be the tricky part.
Well, baby steps, Ed.
Baby steps.
You just gotta make sure that you put up a better fight than Team Baby Rage.
That's not gonna be fucking hard.
But anyways. Alright, it puts us at, that time of the week. And Ed, like, I'll be honest, I went forward in time to view the alternate futures, to see all of the possible outcomes of the coming conflicts ahead in Battlegrounds. And in the 14,605, there was only one outcome. That was
Mm-hmm.
not Celestalon's fault.
Okay.
So we've had to take things a step further. We were trying to come up with a way to further elevate this segment. And like, not that many podcasts have a segment dedicated to someone on one of the developer teams. Celestion just so happens to be a good friend. And so, we were wondering, like, okay, we're tired of getting scammed. So how can we get back at him? And we're like, all right, well, he is a celestial dragon. I was like, okay, what can we do with that? And I was like, I got an idea. So, we were browsing Amazon
Mm-hmm.
for plushes, and that's definitely ruined our Amazon recommendations.
Right? All I'm getting from Amazon right now is freaking dragon plushies.
But anyways, I picked up this guy. And for people that are watching on the audio, I'll post the picture of our Celestalon plush later. But I got this guy. I'll pull him up on stream. Who you can see has like green, purple, black, and blue hair. All right, so
Very Celestalon-like.
yes, crazy hair ties in perfectly with Celestalon since he's usually the one doing a lot of hair dye jobs around BlizzCon time for different community members
Oh,
out there.
R.I.P. BlizzCon.
Yep, that's not gonna happen this year. Rip.
Rip.
That just means we gotta give him twice as much shit the next time we see him. Because that's how that works around here. But anyways, so what is going to happen, Ed, is we're going to be keeping track of scams in Battlegrounds. I'm talking us losing fights we should have won, and us actually winning fights that we should have lost. So we have a system in place here. And I don't have the exact percentages. I'll run them by you, and we'll kind of just go from there. So what's going to happen is, anytime we are scammed in Battlegrounds, and we lose a round that, according to our Bob's Buddy, is a 5% loss chance, we're going to put one of these guys, this is a 1.6-inch sewing needle, into our dragon friend here.
Yes. So, essentially, we have our own Celestalon voodoo doll.
So,
I'm fine with this.
So every 5% loss that we have, we add a needle. And then, should we be the ones scamming our opponent, I put this one at 3%. And that's actually a threshold I've hit multiple times in the past 24 hours. So anytime our opponent loses a round against us that was 3%, or less, we'll take a needle out. So we're trying to counteract here because, as fun as it is to just blame literally everything, sometimes Celestalon gives some other poor sap even worse luck than us and scams them that much harder. So this is something we're going to be keeping track of, and we'll see to what different severities of atrocities occur visually on a week-to-week basis moving forward in our Battlegrounds games. And it is worth noting, too, we do have a Blame Celestalon text channel in our Discord. So anytime you get scammed, you guys better be sure to let us know so we can add another needle.
Mm-hmm. I feel we're going to run out of needles.
Well, Ed, needles aren't that expensive.
Fair.
So maybe what we
But I still feel we're going to run out of them.
Maybe we should reset with every update then.
All right, that's fair.
Every
update we reset. Now the big thing is when we finally do go to BlizzCon next year, do we bring the voodoo doll with us to show Celestalon how much he has spited us?
Absolutely.
All right, fair enough.
I mean,
I'm just thankful you're the one who has to go through security with a voodoo doll dragon with a bunch of needles stuck in it, and not me.
well, they won't suspect anything. That's why you take the needles
Sure.
out ahead of time.
All right, fair enough.
But anyways, we'll be keeping tabs on that moving forward, so we'll see what sort of progress we make on that front. We'll also see whether or not Celestion feels anything in the coming weeks ahead. But it was funny because you and I were looking initially, and then I put word out there on social media over on my Twitter to tell everyone like, hey, we're looking for a dragon plush, preferably one that's more celestial, obviously because of Celestalon. And the one that was linked to us by one of our listeners, Major Look, was actually the one that you would recommended to me when we were initially like throwing around the idea. So it was interesting to see how things kind of came full circle and kind of came to be in that regard.
Mm.
Because I honestly, looking at the picture, I had no idea like the hair was 4 different colors, and when I saw it, I was so struck by it. I was like, you know what? This is almost too perfect.
It is. It is the perfect plush for this.
And Celestalon himself even commented, it's not bad actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
until he gets the dragon with a bunch of freaking needles in it.
Well,
if he complains about like knee pain or elbow pain in like 2 weeks, this is all on you. I have nothing to do with it.
Sure, we'll go with that. But anyways, that will do it for us here tonight on Tavern Tales. If you guys want to help us out, please do us a favor. Head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing and if there is anything you would like to see us discuss in regards to Battlegrounds. We are always looking for ways to improve the show. Now, outside of that, we do have a number of different ways how you guys can get a hold of us. So, Ed, please let our community members know how they can do just that.
All right. So you can reach us through email at taverntalespodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at taverntaleshs. We do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/taverntaleshs Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. We do have a new Discord, and that's bit.ly/tavern discord. So come join us over there. You can follow me personally on Twitter, and that's at Edinar83, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Edinar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can reach me over on Twitter at TumblelyDrunk, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/TumblelyDrunk. All right, guys. Well, that will do it for us here tonight on Tavern Tales, a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. This has been episode 28. Best of luck recruiting your minions, and hopefully you are able to high roll and not get scammed a bunch of times. But you know what? The more you get scammed, the more this guy suffers.
Fair enough.
So best of luck in your Battlegrounds games, and maybe we'll see you guys back next week, and if not, the week after. But be sure to join the Discord, reach out to us, we'll get some games going, and we'll see you then.
Peace.